61 billion shillings to bail out the public universities. And what we are really latching on is the fact that we are now widening that spawning ground for bailouts. And we've seen that happening with the Kenya Airways, where the government has been very categorical until the end of December. The Kenya Airways will not be bailed out by government. But of course, we've seen some money has been stashed to bail out KQ. Also, the sugar millers as well, 171 billion shillings, an eye-popping figure to try and streamline this sector. And now we have the academia. Now they're seeking 61 billion shillings or more to try and pull them out from the doldrums, that is the financial doldrums. Is it justified? Are we also giving the spirit of corruption more strength and, of course, latitude to operate in our country in the name of bailing out? Professor, you wanted to comment on that?
Yes. You know, what we are really talking about is national priorities here. What was the budget for Parliament this year? Is around 48 billion. I don't remember the exact figure. 48 billion for how many people? Parliamentary, I think they are 300 and something. So it's like more than 1 billion for one person per year. So compare that with the money going to education. What I'm trying to tell you, Barandubao, is that 61 billion is nothing if that is what the universities or if the government designed that education is a common good. And therefore need to be funded because the people want the country to progress. In fact, Mandela said something very interesting. He said, if you want to destroy a country, destroy the education system. And you have destroyed the country. Okay, that's what Mandela said. What we are saying, what is 61 billion? What is the budget of the office of the president? The budget between William Ruto, Gachagua, and Mundavand. I think it's over 1 trillion if you want all the figures. Okay? So the billing, what you are hearing here, about 61 billion, is not much investment in education. But also what I wanted to remind my friend here who saying he's going to sue.
But it's not about really the figure. It's about the spirit of bailing out. Yeah, it's not about, even if it is a teeny tiny.
Why are we, first of all, why are we billing the university? The universities are supposed to be, the universities are supposed to be where we manufacture leaders for this country and the managers for this country. Okay? So why even are they being bailed out? Look at the governance structure of the universities and the way we hire the managers. Okay? We hire loyalists. We hire managers as a result of negotiations by the politicians. We don't hire them because they are competent to manage university. The fact that you are a professor of biochemistry or nuclear physics, it does not make you a university manager. Okay? So we don't have priority in just like the rest of this country, my friend. So the other thing which you need when you are looking at the university management is you look at the entire government structure. Look at the energy structure. Look at the process the government uses to transfer public money to individuals. It's called IPP, Independent Power Producers. When we pay again 5 shillings and 40 cents, we are paying independent power producers up to 173 shillings per unit. Why are we doing that? So what we are debating here about the billing the university 61 billion, of course that is one of continuing the mismanagement of the university system, enhancing corruption, because we have not sorted out the problem. The problem is management of the institutions, not just the university, but near a lot of them because of the way we hire managers. Remember, there's the Dubai Linda. He compared his country with Nigeria. And he said Nigeria is everything. It has food, it has oil, and everything. But we are doing better than them because of leadership and nothing else. So our problem boils down to one thing, leadership. But I want to advise you on one thing. You know, you have given a very long story about what you are going to do about this classification. I tell you the winning formula on the classification if you want to sue. The winning formula is the classification it violates Article 27 of the Constitution. The equality before the law and the fact that the government... Article 27.
Okay.
The equality article, section 1, and declares that all Kenyans are equal before the law and entitled to equal benefit of the law. And then subsection 4 of that article declare that the state shall not mandatory discriminate based on social status and birth. Okay, so here what that tells you is we cannot have rich or poor Kenyans entering the university, because remember, universities also don't admit children.
Thank you.
We admit adults.
Right. Thank you.
And their parents' wealth is not the wealth for those adults that we admit. So what you do, that is your case falls or rises under Article 27.
Maybe you should enjoin him as an amicus amen.
Yes, amicus curiae.
Amicus curiae, yes.
Well, just allow me to say
please, let's have
just one or two things about this. First is the definition of public universities. Public universities are there to be equalizer in terms of accessing education in any country. And therefore, it does not lose that status because villagers have been appointed vice chancellors. What we just need to do is to improve our management and our leadership. But more important is to have a caveat on this bailing out, the way Professor said, to give a bill that will assist to cure the problem instead of trying just to give out money for the sake of just giving out money from the exchequer. Why do I say that? I say that because some of the elements that we are bailing out these universities is they don't even remit things like NHIF, pay as you earn, which means somebody must have earned that salary, and therefore the university decided to use the money that was supposed to go to these organizations to do some other work. So that is mismanagement, and somebody should have been held accountable. So while I do support, it must be done with a clear regime of procedure on how that in future we shall not be going back to the treasury to ask for bailout. Yeah.
Right, and still, when you're talking about accountability, yes, we agree. Some of these state agencies, they'll run into the financial doldrums. They're in the red right now. But if we are asking the citizens through taxes for 171 billion shillings, surely at the end of the day, we want somebody held responsible who was there before for this financial malfeasance that is happening currently, right? We can't just be bailing out and we don't know what, no one has actually, heads are not really rolling at the end of the day. So we're talking about accountability. Even if you're seeking the 61 billion shillings, then how are we getting an audit of why we're paying these 61 billion shillings and who is responsible for what, so that we know we are justifiably dishing out the 61 billion shillings and something has been done to tame that clammy finger of corruption within the public institutions at the end of the day.
I agree with you. I'm assuming this is the beginning of time for President William Ruto. But if it is going to be business as usual, 5 years down the road, another president or himself will be asking us to bail out other institutions.
Yeah, we bailed out Mumias Sugar how many times? How many times have we bailed out Mumias Sugar? Or even Kenya, until the government says we are tired.
Institutions.
We are tired. You being in the raid and calling out a mayday call every day. It's a high time. They give until December. And December they'll move that particular post again. That
these are privately owned.
Yes, so
they are not publicly owned.
This is where we lose money, and we wonder, where are we losing money? These are some of the public holes that needs to be plugged, where there's so much corruption also happening. Or still on the bailout?
Yes, on the bailout.
As one upon it.
So let me try and I'm speaking from a point of view being a board of trustee of a private university, the International Leadership University. So I want to look at what kind of debt an institution would have of higher learning like a university. One, there could be an infrastructure debt. And we need to ask ourselves, where are this and what is leading to infrastructure debt in private or public universities that is being led to this? How many universities are doing infrastructure that may not be necessary? that it is not related to enhancing the education of the institution. If it was just retained at the point of renovation to improve class and learning, then it would make sense. The second one could be student loan out of what they are learning from. A third one could be something on research grant loans. We could also be having others as operational debts where you have salaries and issues of that nature being talked about and leading to such a huge debt. But 61 billion. Why would we, is it not in Kenya, that we find institutions, and I have a lot of respect for professors, for VCs of institutions, a lot, and there are many very good ones in this manner. But is it not the same that we also find that one becomes a VC and all of a sudden there are investments all over about the specific institution, land that is being bought that does not make sense. Eventually they have all the buildings that you can never imagine in their individuals and doing things that they would not normally do out of their normal salaries. Is it not now, by getting to that, what becomes budgeted corruption? Because that money is somewhere supposed to be paid because it's money owed somewhere. Sometimes the borrowing from institutions of banking nature, where you borrow in foreign currency and you end up losing a lot because of the rate of the exchange rate and all that. Why would this not? And some cases, the board of trustees has not been informed. Sometimes even the university council is not aware of some of the things, and eventually you find that an institution is about to be closed. Is it not the time that we now need to take on responsibility at this level, so that it's not the 61 billion that is budgeted corruption, it is some suspense account somewhere that eventually after it has been withdrawn or written off, that money ends up in some pocket, because some of them are grants international, and therefore when they come at a time when it was all written off, then they head to somewhere else. It's time that we change this. Our country deserves better. Our people deserve better. Our money is our money, and it must be protected. And the people who are suffering are the youth of this country.
Indeed.
We must not allow this to happen.
Right, we're talking about change as well. We have legislators who are thinking and mulling over on a plot to end Kenya Power monopoly. Now, you can be having that handy opportunity of buying power directly from the IPP instead of going through the Kenya Power. If this will see the light of day, it says Kenyan consumers will have a choice to buy electricity tokens directly from the independent power producers or Kenya Power if MPs approve a proposal in parliamentary committee reports. In the latest push to end the Kenya Power monopoly, the National Assembly Energy Committee proposes to have IPPs generating power through geothermal with the help of Kenyan sell directly to consumers as one of the ways of reducing the high cost of electricity. And I just wanted us to maybe use this as an entry as well to just discuss what has happened this week with the blackouts and the heads rolling as well, and exposing the just dark underbelly of Kenya Airports Authority in terms of the preparations, in terms of the systems running smoothly as well. But should we be buying now directly from IPPs? We've been talking about Kenya Power being a monopoly for the longest time ever, and still is one of the company that seeks a bailout, despite the fact that you are a monopoly. Professor Ogola.
First of all, I remember when people said the Kenya Power is a monopoly, somebody said that they are not a monopoly because they have competition. One competition is candle, charcoal, and they even said even darkness is a competition because you can decide to stay in darkness. So when you are in darkness, you are actually being a competitor to Kenya Power. And I'm sure that's what happened on the blackout. We were all forced to be competitors of Kenya Power. Anyway, jokes aside, as far as I'm concerned, the whole idea, I'm an economist, and in economic modeling, we're always being told that if you see a certain high level of coincidences, you flag it. The first thing is that when they said Lake Turkana failed, Uganda was supposed to kick in, it didn't kick in. There was another layer of what you call about the solving the black error in the system. That also did not happen. Then generators are supposed to pick in, and international airport, there are so many layers of other, let's say, solutions if this one failed. So the level of coincidence were too many for me to believe that it was something natural. For example, what causes an outage? One could be an animal interfering with the power line. So there were no elephants that hit the power line, so we ruled that one out. The second one was storm, weather, natural conditions. So that there was no rain. I was driving from Bungoma all the way to Nairobi. I never saw any rain. So we rule out the natural conditions. The third one is equipment failure. That was not the case because Kenya Power did not repair equipment or they imported new equipment to put there. Now the other one is human interference. So for me, this was in human interference, and that's why we went. I went to Kenya Power. I went to Kenya Airport Authority with a letter to the MD demanding that she explains what happened on that day, because those coincidences were too many for them to happen on the same day. And also the contradiction within the Kenya Kwanza administration, the Kenya Power was also telling me there was something wrong. For example, Murkomen around 9 p.m. and later like around midnight says, at 9 a.m. I'll make a decision. Then Chirichiri says, it is Lake Turkana that failed. Then Kenya Power also contradicted by saying it is Lake Turkana that failed. Lake Turkana says it's not us, it is you. Then the president in Kakamega said we are working on Kenya Power. And now I was seeing all these contradictions, but realizing seriously what's happening. And then the other thing is that why do you fire an MD if power failed in JK at 9:45? Then by 9 a.m. you already have a report, a dossier that can lead to the firing an MD. Then the MD is fired around midday. According to me, to fire an MD, even going through the process, is so long that all this was planned. They had an intention to get rid of that.
Alex.
That was a strategy. They had a plan for it. They also had a plan to do this blackout at 9:45 because the hour 9:45 looks a very well calculated hour. It's not 9:46, it's not 9:49, and then it's at night. For me, we went to Kenya
Power. Until overbraining it.
No, I told you, in economics, when you see too much coincidence, you flag.
What theory is this?
So for me, we went to Kenya Power. Our intelligence we had was that there was something being smuggled into the country, and there is a need for this blackout to take place for it to happen. That's why I asked the MD of Kenya Airports Authority to give me the manifest, because I have intelligence. Planes continue to land even during this blackout. So we want to have a manifest of the cargo planes, the passenger planes. What is the manifest? What are they carrying? So with that information, we can be able to give you a more accurate information about what happened. But if you look at it, the mismanagement in Kenya Power is daring. And maybe just to leave that aside now to go to solution. I was studying in Spain, and there's a way you can power your cooking, power your house using natural gas. There was a company called Gas Natural. Now it's now called Liturgy. It can supply just using a flamed gas to do the cooking, to do the lighting and everything. Then also there's another one now, you can do hydroelectric energy, and how you access that is different. But in Kenya Power, they talked about when they dismantled the energy sector by saying there's GDC, which does geothermal, there's Kentraco. So they put too many institutions there, and Kenya Power was the sole transmitter of power. The issue of having a monopoly at Kenya Power as the sole transmitter created an issue, and for me is a long overdue to find a way. For example, geothermal is cheaper than hydro. And that's why we talk about the issue of if you add more geothermal to the energy mix in the grid, the energy cost of energy goes down. So instead of just trying to talk about Kenya Power, why don't GDC provide geothermal, which will be cheaper energy? Let Kenyan maybe provide hydroelectric. So Kenyans choose which energy you want to use. Depending on how reliable this, even solar, they now even put a role in that if you put your own solar, it will be taken like still under Kenya Power. You have to pay some fee to the government. Just like even the Nairobi water. If you dig your own borehole, which is your own water, to take that water and use, you pay the Nairobi Water Company. Some of these legislations are actually just heinous. They are meant to make money from people. I have bought a house where I have a borehole in my compound. And then I have to pay Nairobi Water Company, and they can come to disconnect because I have not paid them. They didn't dig the borehole. They don't service the borehole. They only come to disconnect. For me, there are many things. And then lastly, I propose to Kenya Power a solution on how to subsidize even their income. And I told them, look, do you know we have meter readers? How many meter readers have Kenya Power who have motorcycle who go to each and every place reading meter? I'm telling you, there are over 20,000 people running in this country with motorcycles doing meter reading, isn't it? The same thing, we have Nairobi Water Company also with their own motorcycle, but what we found interesting that anybody who has a water point where you need water reading also has electricity. So I said, why don't we streamline and saying one person will do that work where you go read water, meter, you read, and they refused. Reason why, you know what I'm trying to say, all scams, all corruptions, everybody, because somebody took a contract from Kenya Power to do meter reading and they're being paid because that's outsourced, isn't it? Then somebody has outsourced one for water. So if you are trying to say you streamline them, people are losing business. And all this we call them now cartels, because now they put a country into hostage. According to me, let me tell you, if I was president in this country, there are so many things you can make decision about without going on top of the car, and you streamline the country. Do an executive order that you are going to work on efficiency. The president talked about cutting the 3 billion budget, isn't it? Did you say that was PR?
Yes,
has it happened? 300 billion.
No.
Actually, his office is spending more than any other office in the land. So if you tell a minister, cut your budget, and you are the biggest spender, leadership starts from the top. And according to me, before that information is done, we'll also bail State House. Like now, State House also owes Kenya Power a lot of bills, and that's why even Kenya Power needs to bail out. Go and look at the debtors, the debtors for Kenya Power. You'll find State House there, isn't it? Nairobi County government, isn't it? Those are the biggest people that are creating the pending bills that Kenya Power is taking from people. Is amazing. So according to me, the government just needs to be lean, and then at the same time run these state corporations with, if you call, governance. And I finish by stating that when Michael Joseph was given the CEO of Safaricom, which was hired from Telcom, because before, if you had to set up a telephone line, you had to bribe somebody to be given a telephone line. Michael Joseph did not bring Wazungus or anybody from abroad. He just changed it with governance and leadership. And only with the governance and leadership, this country can go far. With all those shouting and the rest, let's stop them. Let's just sort out governance and leadership. We have the right people leading the right institution, whether it is public universities, whether it is KQ. If you go to KQ, tell me, Michael Joseph sits in the board of KQ, isn't it? He's the chair. Why don't he bring the brain from Safaricom to turn around KQ? It's because the governance structure of KQ cannot even allow him to do anything.
It's so gamed. It can't.
No, yeah, because he asked when he was appointed to be executive chair. Executive chair means he can make executive decision. He was told, sorry, my brother, just be there, sit ceremonially, earn your allowances, and then I asked, when Michael Joseph retired from Safaricom, he was asked, which kind of job do you want? He said, I want to have a job where I can earn a lot of money and work less so that I can travel the world, isn't it? I think KQ was the ideal job because now we don't need money, because KQ can give him a ticket to go anywhere he wants, and he's not having a lot of work because he just sits chair the board and then travel. So according to me, Michael Joseph needs to work, but he cannot work if there's no enabling environment in governance to make things work.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's come to Kipruto Rapkirwa.
Coming to me then.
Coming to you. Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, are you in support, because I've not heard from Prof of this move that we need to have you buying the power directly from the IPP? And what difference does it make if still, is it now the negotiation between the IPP and the Kenya Power that are exacerbating
No, that's not the
price?
strategy. I told you the strategy should to structure the power, not IPP. When you talk about generators, there are different energy sources that have different
we'll come to you
cost
later.
implications and efficiency.
Okay, let's hear from Prof.
Now, this is what they say. Your wants start to lose value when your actions don't match. And this is the problem we're having with the government pronouncements. Those ones lose value when the actions don't match. The KTN government was elected on the platform of fixing this economy. Okay, the issue was economy is stupid. If they want to go to Bill Clinton, you understand? Now, if you are going to fix this economy, you must have a plan on energy. And now we are depicting all these issues because clearly there is no plan on the energy. So there is no plan on fixing the economy. So what is our role there as citizens? We create our own storms and then we cry when it rains. And this is what we are doing now. Because we actually thought there was a plan, but we never asked to see that plan. The plan was never pronounced. We didn't see it. Because the plan for creating jobs, the plan for fixing the economy meant the plan to increase production. And to increase production, you need two things to happen simultaneously. You need energy costs to go down, and you need expenditure to go down. And the expenditure by who? By the state. So whether you are going to buy from IPP, because I don't know you buy from IPP, because I told you 2000, Kenyan was being paid 4 shillings and 48 cents, whereas the Turkana wind was getting around 78 shillings. This is per unit, okay? And then the Turkana wind is getting this money in dollars as if the country is importing air, because it's supposed to generate that thing by wind. So we are actually importing our own air like Turkana. And then the others which were being paid 173, that was the highest. In fact, I wish at the time to dig here and give you the names of these IPP companies. Now, who owns these companies? Because there's a formula for the government stealing from its own citizens and distributing money to other citizens. Because these are also mainly Kenyan citizens who own these independent power producers. So the problem of Kenya, stagnation, because unless you can produce and export, I want to move. I think Professor Ogola will tell you that. Unless we can produce enough for ourselves and then surplus we sell, we will not create the employment we talk about, and we will not move from where we are. Our stagnation is based on what the former Chief Justice said. He declared our economy as a gangster,
Bandit
economy.
Yes.
Okay? What does bandit economy means? It means the leadership is transactional. Is not transformational. The transactional leader makes a decision for personal direct benefit. A transformational leader will make a decision by what benefits the country. A transactional leader will think about the next election and nothing else. A transformational leader will think about the next generation. So the policy is geared to outlive, whether it's energy policy or whatever, it will be geared to outlive the regime.
Thank you.
Okay? So this is our challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Kipruto Rabkirwa.
Well, the last time I heard of IPP, it was a monster that the government was planning to kick out, because it has been the source of the cost of electricity escalating to the skies. And therefore, to say that you are going to get anything from IPP is expecting water from the stone. Now, this is failure of structures in Africa which are deliberately done by the leaders of the day. Just to give you a bit of statistics, for every $1 that comes to Africa, within the year, half a dollar will have gone out. Number two, for every $1 that is given as a grant to any African country, $7 will leave the door in due course. This therefore means all these IPPs and other investments that are done with concurrence of the government, of the administration of the day, is structured to steal from the people of this country and enrich other societies. While we may not have time to talk about coups in Africa, this is the product of that. We may be saying it is francophone, But all these countries, they have the requisite fertile ground for a coup to take place, because these structures are wrong, since we do not address the issues of the nation as the leaders of that particular nation. We are addressing certain business opportunities. When you see this money coming from, whether it is Iran, whether it is wherever, it is coming because the leaders have positioned themselves to make sure that they get part of the loot. That is the challenge we have in Kenya. Yeah.
All right. So you're in support of buying directly, as you say. The last time we checked, this was a mongrel that we were trying to snatch. So we should not be transacting with them.
It is a mongrel, but so my take is the administration of the day must be able to make life bearable for Kenyans by ensuring that the institution of government, like the Kenya Power, that it ought to be, must be made, one, to be efficient, two, to be effective in terms of service delivery, and three, to get rid of misgovernance by ensuring there is proper leadership.
All right, Isaac Alua.
I never cease to refer to a statement that was made by a good friend called Jack Matty, that nothing goes wrong, it can only start wrong. The fact that we do not have a competitor for an institution like Kenya Power and Lighting breeds lack of transparency, because there is no motivation for transparency. It is okay to continue the way we are doing. And even as I say these things, I want to appreciate there are very good officers, including the MD for Kenya Power and Lighting, the Minister for Energy. I have a lot of respect for him, Davis Chirchir, and people who are very committed to change the status quo of this institution. But the fact that there is a monopoly, one, it breeds the lack of transparency. It also brings out challenges that are very obvious in this kind of institution, that there is poor service. There is no reason why a Kenyan who is in the most rural place, lacking power because there is a transformer that blew, and that they stay for months because there is no much income. There should be equal service, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are in the village or in the city. Poor service is an issue, and it comes out of lack of competition. There are issues that are very interesting. One, lack of incentive and innovation. For instance, the costs that Kenya Power and Lighting goes through, my colleague, I don't know whether these facts are real, but imagine if we have 20,000 riders. Why should the company own those motorcycles? They should be out of the books of Kenya Power and Lighting. There should be innovation on ownership, that these are staff members. They can be given a bike which they can own after 1 year. They will take care of it, they will service it, and they know simple things. Why would there be no innovation and some incentive for someone who is trying to get a mini grid for either wind or solar? This would not be there unless you are thinking of a way that you can be innovative. There are other issues that are leading to that. The high cost of the power in different places. So all these things are supposed to work if the foundation is right, and more importantly, allowing the competition so that there can be excellent service at different levels. The fact that when you pay Kenya Power today by mistake, in fact, when you have yes, by mistake, or even when they give you an invoice, they tell you lipa kwanza, let's talk later. The moment you pay that, that becomes your base, and they will always bet on that meters are not read. It is just assumed that there is estimated. Why?
So why are they estimating, and we have all these riders who are
And
going
try to apply.
to read
You
this
see,
video?
it's a very painful, it's a very painful scenario that Kenyans may be silent, but I'm telling you, even when you see a member of parliament doing crazy things as we saw, which are out of law, it is out of pain. And actually that kind of member of parliament will even be elected, not even in his own constituency, but by the constituency that he was fighting for. Because people are just desperate. People are just so pained. Professors just say that the main issue in this country is leadership and integrity.
Right.
At all levels, this must apply. People might look so peaceful and silent, but we are not here not to deal with what we must deal. The fact that Kenyans are silent, they should not be taken for granted. The fact that the Kenyan youth are pained with this.
But are Kenyans silent? Because we had a class action suit in 2018.
Why is
And we Professor, he can tell us more about that. We had a class action suit. We had Paul Mboya, who was the lawyer who was steamrolling this together with other civil society around, I think Kenya Power, consumers as well were on it. But that one also tapered off because apparently someone was bought off by the monopoly. And the Kenyans who were voicing their concern, and they had hopes that something will come out of this class action suit, that one just tapered off.
There's
And,
a government
so
supposed to protect
I'm
us.
saying, sorry?
There's a government that is supposed to protect us.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
So where is it?
With that particular gap that is there, you as an economist, you as in that particular sphere as well, what immediate action can you do so that we can steamroll this? Because the MPs also, they've been, doing it at a very glacial slowness pace. Since 2018, we've been seeing this rising and rising. We're being warned, come April, we'll have the sky, the high cost of power going up and up. And it's been going up and up. It cannot be sustained anymore. And this jiggery-pokery way of reading your meters or estimating your power bill does not make any lick of sense, because it's supposed to be scientific. I can't come with a 200,000 bill, then we come and negotiate with Kenya Power, now they pay it down to 30,000. And where are these other estimates coming from? Yeah. So how will I be also having trust on my bill that this is the exact amount of power that I have consumed?
No, Dibala. I told you earlier, in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16, it stated that there is nothing new under the sun. What had come to be, what is coming to be, had already existed. Meaning, the solution to power has been solved somewhere. Why are we acting as if we are opening a book? I tell you, a good student in strategy must be good in history. US had power issues historically. Europe, Holland, even Germany with the most advanced one, even Switzerland, they have solved it. What have they done? These MPs go for benchmarking studies. What do they study? Is it that once you travel out of the country, then you learn in JK and speak in Swahili, you forgot what you did to benchmark? MCAs are now spending the money which has just come now, which we has, actually for me, it is good that Ruto said he disbursed money on time, but also there's a disadvantage. Because now these guys are now spending it on benchmarking trips. Has it disbursed money for benchmarking trips? So what I'm trying to say in short is that the solution to Kenya Power has existed somewhere. It is not that Kenya is the first country handling power issues. But also, let me just try to underscore the importance of Kenya Power. Do you know why we have done that? Kenya, there's what we call innovation index. Kenya is the second in Africa in innovation index after South Africa. Kenya is ahead of Nigeria innovation index. And we ask, what is the main contributor? There are two things. Fiber optic, which is broadband internet, which Kibaki launched, and secondly, stable power. But now they're saying, if this power can be affordable, then Kenya can take off forever, and Nigeria will never see us.
South Africa
According to me, yes, if I was president, I would focus on fixing that Kenya Power with all means, and it is a simple arithmetic. And let me tell you what, the president knows the solution. Does he want to do it? Maybe not. That's why I usually falsify the philosopher called Socrates. Socrates says, knowledge is virtue, and virtue is knowledge. Meaning, if you know something, you'll do it. The problem in Kenya for Kenya Power and all the issues we have is just like the 10 Commandments. We know we need to go to heaven. You need to keep the 10 Commandments, but we fail them. So according to me, the structure can be taken from the one of Switzerland. They can be taken from the one of Germany. You can take the one from Holland. Power is power. Even how the independent power producers pay the transmitter, all the structures are there. The issue is the willingness here. Look, when during Uhuru's presidency, there was serious corruption in Kenya Power, isn't it? Yeah. There were so many corruption in Kenya Power that it was amazing. Kenya Power was used for making money that has been used for this current administration to come to power. This is what happens. So these state institutions, even the sugar industry, Mheshimiwa, you can confirm to me, most politicians that have made it to parliament have used the sugar money from the Western Circuit to become members of parliament. And they are the real cartels. And secondly, why are we having the biggest problem? If you ask me, the problem should begin with politics. Can you imagine? In many countries, like the Republic paper of Plato says that we should have what's called the philosopher king, the rulers. Then we should have the business people who are doing business. Then we shall have the workers, isn't it? But in Kenya, the politicians are the real business people. 92% of Kenyan revenue, which means business being transmitted every day, is in the hands of politicians. Go to Kenyatta family, how much of the business in the country they control? Now Ruto wants to compete to beat the Kenyatta family to it, isn't it? We have the Moi family. They also control chunk of business. But in some countries, you are a politician and the people who own businesses. They run businesses. For you do politics. So the separation between politics, business, and labor has not done very well, because look at the Rai. They control Uganda. They have a challenge. They control the sugar industry in Uganda. They control the sugar industry in Kenya, and therefore they control the government, if you like. It has been stated that some of these people even have a say on your budget. You know, when the budget is being read, for you are sitting back to read what the minister is going to say, but for them they are sitting to confirm whether the minister is reading what they gave them. So this is the challenges we are having with our country. And according to me, the solutions are there. And I will tell you, Kenya has one of the most educated workforce. The human resource in Kenya is so advanced. Look at the people sitting on this table. Mheshimiwa, you retired and what are you doing? And the solutions are, you have them. You understand? Professor, what can't you do to fix these issues? Isn't it? You are sitting here, you're a party leader with your qualification, and you are sitting outside. The people on the table are incompetently qualified. So what I'm trying to say, in short, the solutions exist, just like how to prepare tea. The recipe is there. The ingredients are there. What we lack is leadership and governance to just prepare the right tea. Because even at home, if they want to prepare the right tea, they can prepare, but if they want to prepare the wrong tea, they can prepare the wrong tea.
Okay, Prof, because I'm stuck for time, I want us just to discuss also the issue of bipartisan talks. And you can see the Star is holding a very interesting splash as well, that there are hidden cards in talks with Raila. Ruto hidden cards in talks with Raila. Framework agreement says final talks report will be tabled in Parliament, and MPs to have a last say on the contentious issues. That is, it looks like there is a sting at the end of a tail of this bipartisan talks. At the end of the day, you were talking about the numbers. The person who has a final say will have the numbers. And even as we're talking about that, of course, Kalua and PLO, the eminent members or people of this country, who held a press conference last weekend talking about a constitutional moment. Some of the things that we have as the salient 5 issues that will be discussed on this bipartisan talks are critical on changing the structure of government, which calls for a constitutional moment. First of all, we have also the issue of boundaries. IBC is not in place. We have Basani, legislator who passed on, has not really been replaced. We have also other MCAs who have passed on from Nyamira as well. There are vacant seats. We don't have an IBC. Let's just begin from there. You think we should have a constitutional moment? Why do you think we should have a constitutional moment? Briefly.
Okay, I think first and foremost is an issue of political crisis. And political crisis because we promulgated the Constitution in 2010. In 2017, you remember what happened. We lost lives. We have been in perennial situations of political issues, challenges, getting to the streets and all that. We have had social and cultural issues. If you look at what has happened around the fights in our tribes and ethnic tensions that have always been there, whether we like it or not, they're there. And as I said earlier on, we just look like we are a calm nation. It's only that we are used to this kind of pains, but they're already there. We have corruption hampering development in our country. These are social issues, a serious one. We have gender inequality, where we have women not having their rightful position as per the Constitution, and therefore even leading to what can lead to a parliament being legally stopped from operation. We have had issues on poverty, and they continue to affect our country. These are things that lead to that constitutional moment that we can think about. We have economic challenges. Our youth are suffering out of lack of jobs, and they have very clear ways that they believe that they can deal with, and we need to try and look at what can be done that would lead this to be in the Constitution. And there are ways that can lead to this kind of a situation. Look at the environmental challenges, the drought, and what is coming up very soon. We are looking at a situation that is going to cause this country to be in big trouble. Look at the generational shifts that we have in our country. That people, let me finish, that young people are very innovative, and they can be supported in different ways as per the Constitution. And therefore there are very many ways that we can look at their being, and indeed that it is long and overdue. We are indeed in a constitutional moment. And I can establish this as much as possible. And there are many questions that we can ask ourselves.
A likelihood of referendum?
Well, first of all, allow me to thank the team, the Kalonzo Kimani team, for coming up with the issues that they have distilled for further discussion and processing by the nation. Also allow me to disabuse Kenyans of this notion that is Raila Ruto talks or dialogue. We are narrowing it to two individuals, as if Ruto and Raila, if they were not in town, there would be no need for this dialogue. I want us to understand that this is national conversation, a conversation that arises out of some of the direct misadvice in the framers of the 2010 Constitution. While we say it is progressive, robust, remember there were certain issues that were a bit foreign from the way we have been dealing with politics since 1963 at independence. And therefore, I've insisted all the time that we are not saying we want constitutional amendment, we want constitutional audit. We audit the current constitution. The things that we feel they are good for Kenya, we carry them on. The mistakes that we realize that we've not been able to address, we are able to address them, including the issue of a leader running for a county seat as governor or deputy governor, president, having university degree. If we find that is not the case, then we remove that particular requirement from the laws of Kenya. Because why am I saying that? I'm saying that because there are many individuals that are now governors and deputy governors and other offices and yet they do not have the requisite education background. And there is also litigation that has gone to court to the extent that that particular clause has been watered down.
Thank you.
So it is important. I just wanted to say this, Debal. I want us to call this national conversation. And when we elevate it to national conversation, everybody is involved.
Thank you.
And is coming in as an equal stakeholder, not a stakeholder.
Right.
Yep.
All right, we have my music up. It's my time now to just be winding up as well. And Professor, I want to give you time to chime in on this bipartisan talks. We can actually pick up next week as well. I want to thank you, all of you, for the good contributions and the massive contributions you put forward this morning. And I hope also the policymakers are listening, the government is listening, the citizens also are learning where we are at. There are a lot of issues that
but
we not
should
even
say something about bipartisan.
Bipartisan, no, that's what I've said. I don't have time.
Just 1 minute.
We can pick it up next week.
I guarantee 1 minute.
My director is on my case.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on my case. We'll pick it up next week as we continue. All right. She's contributed 1 minute to you.
Okay.
And it will be fair to give you 30 seconds
yeah.
then.
First, I agree with the senior. We need multi-partisan because Kenya is a multi-partisan state. And on the hidden cards, I said before that Raila always seemed to be a poor boardroom negotiator. And this is what needs to improve, because how did he allow his team to sign that? Because this is contrast to the accord. The accord was that the team meeting passed something and Parliament was only to rubber stamp. That's what they're supposed to be done. And lastly, I would say very well that according to me, the constitution is overdue because some other countries took 2 years to amend theirs, some took 6 months and became more progressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think the talks are good, and I think we should be positive that they will honor today's documents. Control what we are looking for is good leadership. They need to have party discipline as a primary thing. They also need what to do with the president, who has captured the parliament, because as it is right now, only parliament can remove the president. We need to be able to move the